Today, we're diving into the pretty incredible story of Paclitaxel. It's a powerhouse of a cancer-fighting drug, and it comes from a place you'd probably never expect, the bark of a tree.
So that's the big question, right? How on earth does a chemical found in a random forest tree end up as one of the most important weapons we have against cancer? It's a wild journey. Let's get into it.
You might think this story starts in some sterile, high-tech lab, but nope. Our story begins out in the forest, with a discovery that was, well, both a miracle and a massive, massive challenge. So picture this. It's the 1960s. Scientists are screening thousands and thousands of plants, just looking for anything that might fight cancer, and they find something really special in the bark of the Pacific yew. But there was a huge catch. These trees grow incredibly slowly, and to get the bark, you had to kill the tree. It was a total dead end, completely unsustainable. It wasn't until the 90s that a really clever scientific breakthrough changed everything.
And when I say the problem was severe, I mean it. To get just 1 single gram of this drug, you'd have to destroy 3 or 4 whole trees. But then, scientists found this absolutely elegant solution. They looked at a different tree, the European yew, and found a similar compound in its needles. Now you can harvest needles all day long and it doesn't hurt the tree. And they figured out how to take that compound and convert it into Paclitaxel in the lab. A total game changer.
Okay, so the supply problem gets solved. But that just leads to the next big question. How does this chemical from a tree actually fight cancer? Well, the answer is kind of weird and totally fascinating. It doesn't destroy anything. Instead, it stabilizes.
To get this, we've got to talk about something called microtubules. Just think of them as the cell's internal skeleton. It's scaffolding. But here's the thing. It's not a fixed skeleton like ours. It's dynamic. It's constantly being built up and then torn right back down. And this whole process is absolutely critical for a cell to divide.
You know, in a healthy cell, division is this beautiful, elegant dance. The microtubules build themselves into this structure, a spindle. That spindle then grabs onto the copied chromosomes and pulls them apart perfectly into 2 new cells. But here's the key part you need to remember. To finish the dance, that whole spindle has to fall apart. It has to disassemble. And this is where Paclitaxel pulls off its amazing trick. See, a lot of chemotherapy drugs go after the cancer cell's DNA. Paclitaxel, it does something totally different. It finds that cellular skeleton and just locks it in place.
So here's the play-by-play. Paclitaxel comes in and it latches onto those microtubules, basically freezing them solid. Remember that spindle that needed to fall apart? Well, now it can't. The whole process of cell division just stops. The cell gets trapped, stuck right in the middle of dividing. And that sends out a massive alarm signal, basically telling the cancer cell that something has gone horribly wrong, which forces it to activate its own self-destruct program.
So, that is the super cool science happening on a microscopic level. But what does this cellular freeze actually mean for patients? How does it translate into a real-world treatment?
Well, the impact has been massive. It became a cornerstone treatment for ovarian cancer and breast cancer. It's a standard of care for lung cancer. It's used to fight pancreatic cancer, Kaposi sarcoma, and a whole bunch of others. It really became this true, broad-spectrum weapon in the fight against cancer.
But of course, the story wasn't over. There was another big problem they had to solve. See, Paclitaxel doesn't dissolve in water, so to get it into the body, they had to mix it with this really harsh solvent made from castor oil, and that solvent could cause some pretty serious allergic reactions.
So science came to the rescue again with another brilliant innovation. They developed a new version where the drug is bound to albumin. That's a natural protein that's already floating around in our blood. And the difference was just staggering. No more harsh solvent, a way lower risk of allergies, and, this is huge for patients, a massive drop in infusion time.
I want you to really picture this from a patient's point of view. With that old formula, you're sitting in a chair, hooked up to an IV for about 3 hours. 3 long hours.
Now, with the new albumin-bound version, 30 minutes. Just 30. That's not just a small tweak. That is a massive, massive improvement in the quality of life for people going through treatment.
But, you know, no drug is a magic bullet. And to really get the full picture of Paclitaxel, we have to be honest about the trade-offs, the side effects, and the challenges that come along with its incredible legacy.
The very thing that makes this drug so powerful is also its biggest downside. Because it targets all cells that are dividing quickly, it can't really tell the difference between a cancer cell and, say, a healthy hair follicle, or cells in your bone marrow. That's why you see side effects like hair loss and higher risk of infection. But the really tough one, the one that often limits how much of the drug a person can take, is its effect on nerve cells, causing painful nerve damage in the hands and feet that can sometimes last long after the treatment is over.
And on top of all that, there's another major hurdle. Cancer is smart. It's a survivor. And over time, it can actually figure out ways to outsmart the drug.
It's pretty wild how it does it. Some cancer cells develop these tiny little pumps on their surface that literally just spit the drug right back out. Others will actually mutate the tubulin protein itself, changing the shape of the target so the drug can't even attach anymore. It's a constant, evolving battle.
But even with all those challenges, you just can't deny its impact. It is, as one of our sources says perfectly, a landmark achievement in oncology.
When you step back and look at the whole story, it's just incredible. It's a journey that starts with a chance discovery in a forest, goes through these huge environmental and chemical challenges, and ends with a sophisticated therapy that is now a cornerstone of cancer treatment all over the world.
And that journey really leaves you thinking, doesn't it? If a life-saving drug like this was hiding in the bark of a tree, it just proves how much power is hidden in the natural world. It really makes you wonder, what other secrets is nature just waiting for us to find?